agave to skip the barrel, innovation of the Boston subway. Workers unearthed a Native American fish weir, dated at nearly 4,000 years old. The weir resembled a fence, with an estimated 60,000 stakes used to trap fish during low tide. In the 16th century BC, fishermen were fishing from canoes with barbed hooks, made of bronze, and a variety of nets to scoop and corral fish in large numbers. Commercial fishing began on an international scale in 12th century Europe, when the major maritime nations began venturing farther from their heavily fished seas. In 1497, Italian mariner John Cabot was contracted by England's Henry VII to find the passage to Asia that had eluded Christopher Columbus. Instead of a new trade route, Cabot found a landmass he named Newfoundland. Along this foreign shore, he discovered a treasure greater than gold: cod.
And reports went back to Europe of incredible stocks of cod, and the phrase that was used was that you could scoop them up with a basket. And when Europeans heard about this, it created, you know, a kind of a rush, like a gold rush, a cod rush to North America.
Cod was one of the most valuable fish in the world. Its flavorful white flesh was highly prized. Salting and drying the flesh could preserve it for months, yielding a food that was 80% concentrated protein.
A good fishery was like a good oil field. Tremendous profits were being made from North American cod. So it was ideal for explorers, for provisions for armies, and in fact it became viewed by the British and by other countries as a strategically important material of war.
Soon the French, British, Spanish, and Portuguese were building long-range fishing fleets to begin an all-out commercial assault on the North Atlantic cod. The cod ranged from the waters of Newfoundland's Grand Banks all the way to what is now Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
The salt codfish that soon was being caught in great quantity and shipped back to Europe was being traded with the Spanish for their gold, because salt codfish was the only protein that you could preserve in those latitudes down there.
Technology of fishing in open seas changed little for centuries. Cod was generally caught by hand lining, a method by which one man used a line, a weight, and a baited hook to catch and haul in a single fish. Hand lining from dories dates back to the 16th century. A dory is a small rowboat, lowered over the side of the mothership to return only when full of fish. Commercial dory fishing was extremely dangerous.
A storm would come up and the dory would get blown downwind from the schooner. And if it was a little foggy, it would be out of sight, and they would be adrift 300 or 400 miles from land with essentially no food. And you know, that was it.
Often the catch would get so heavy that at a certain point the small boat would just sink. The mothership would try to fish these guys out, but in the North Atlantic most of the year you can't stay alive more than a few minutes in the water. So it was incredibly dangerous.
But the rich cod stocks became vital to colonial America's economy. New Englanders made immense profits trading salt cod to the world. It eventually brought financial independence from the British, and therefore helped establish the United States of America. But the march of technology finally shifted the worldwide demand from salted fish to fresh fish. In the late 19th century, the birth of steam power put engines aboard ships. Soon steam and eventually diesel-powered fishing vessels were plying the oceans and scooping up fish in large trawl nets, effectively speeding up the delivery of the catch to market. Then, in the 1920s, a New York inventor named Clarence Birdseye changed fishing forever when he unveiled a fast freezing technique to the world.
The fast freezing process completely changed fishing. because it meant that fish could be taken inland. In a country like the United States with a huge interior, this meant a tremendous increase in the market.
By 1948, the world's commercial fish catch reached 19 million tons. It jumped to 60 million tons in 1960 and 100 million tons by 1989. Hundreds of years of relentless fishing in the North Atlantic resulted in catastrophe. In 1992, Canada declared a moratorium on the Grand Banks cod fishery. One of the most productive fisheries for over 500 years was now depleted. While overfishing in most of the world's oceans is now a reality, a few conservation-minded scientists are fighting back by using behavior modification to keep juvenile fish out of the net entirely. Paul Revere used the image of a codfish, a symbol of prosperity, when he designed currency plates for the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1770.